Everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys, we're going to be getting our game on and doing a really awesome deck profile of my Neo-Spacian deck. Yes, guys. Now, just to let all my subscribers know out there, we are going to be doing a bunch of different hero deck profiles moving forward. I am revisiting a lot of my hero decks, ones that I haven't touched in maybe a year or two. In addition to that, I'm pretty much, some of them I'm rebuilding, etc. But we're going to be doing D heroes coming up, evil heroes, vanilla heroes, and masked heroes. So expect a lot of different hero deck profiles coming out in the coming weeks. But, you know, I remember a time back when heroes were not that good, guys. There was a time in Yu-Gi-Oh's history when heroes were not good. They were very, very bad. But as time has gone on, they've gotten much better. They've become their kind of own category, their own archetype, and then they have sub-archetypes within the main archetype of heroes, which is just crazy and amazing. And, you know, this is one of those decks that I wanted to build for a long time. However, there was one card that I was hoping got reprinted, and eventually it did not. It did not get reprinted. Still hasn't at the time of me recording this video. Hopefully it does. And you can probably pretty much imagine, since we're doing a Neo-Spacian deck profile, what that is. Yes, Neo-Spacian Air Hummingbird, the fusion. Yeah, this card, guys, needs a reprint in some way, shape, or form. It's just ridiculous. It's one of the few hero fusions that's never gotten a reprint. But I was able to get that card on the cheap, from a good buddy of mine, and I was able to build this deck. So without further ado, let us get into the deck profile, guys, and we'll get started. So first off, we run our 3 Neo-Spacians. I remember back when this original artwork came out in the tins, because I felt it weird that this card came out as a common back in the day, which was weird. But I really love the alternate artwork as well. He's very integral to run as a 3 in this deck because he's going to help you go for a majority, if not all, of your Neo-Spacian fusions, right? That's why you run him as a 3 of. Staple card, 3 of, hands down. I do like him as a secret rare, which I keep him in my binder because I love him so much. He look Elemental Hero Neos looks nice as a secret rare. Sorry, there's something in my throat. Next, we run 1 Elemental Hero Neos. He's pretty much your Honest. If you don't know the backstory behind him, I found this out when I was building this deck about 2 months ago. He's a fusion between Honest and Elemental Hero Neos from one of the seasons that I don't think that was dubbed in the US, which is interesting. But he's really good. He'll help you push over bigger monsters, get around bigger monsters. Overall, a good card. Some people are still like running him as a 2 of. I understand that. Me, personally, I like him as a 1 of. Next, we run 3 Neo-Spacian Connector. If you've played competitively over the last couple of years, you've probably seen this card in some different hand loop dot decks. Really good card, but it was made specifically for Neo-Spacians. Go figure, it got abused in the meta. But in this deck, it's really helpful because of the ability to get multiple Neo-Spacians on the field for different fusion plays, etc. Really good staple card in this deck as a 3 of, hands down. Amazing card. It's very versatile in this deck. And I think it really brought the Neo-Spacian archetype to being playable, actually, finally. But it's very awesome because you can tribute it off, get things onto the field. Really good card. Staple 3 of, hands down. Helps you more easily go for your fusions. Next, I run 2 Air Hummingbird, 2 Grand Mole, and 2 Panther. Now, you may be asking, why are you running these as 2 ofs in the deck, Seto? Well, some of the Neo-Spacians are more versatile than others. And some of the fusions, you're going to go for more than others, quote unquote. And for that reason, I wanted to run them at multiple. So, Air Hummingbird on its own is a pretty decent card. Do not underestimate how much life points you can gain off of this in certain situations and how important that life point gain can somewhat be. But you're going to help him. He's going to help you go into your fusion that we were talking about earlier. Grand Mole, you can run multiple nowadays. He's not as broken as he was. I will say, even today, I've come into a contact and had some duels where the Grand Mole lock did win me the game, or at least came into effect. It did play out like that. But it's not going to happen and is not as impactful as it used to be because the game has evolved and changed. But from time to time, you do get somebody in a Grand Mole lock still in 2021. It does happen. And Neo-Spacian Dark Panther, Black Panther, rest in peace, is, I feel like, one of the most underrated Neo-Spacians, to be honest. It really, really is. His ability to copy effects, monster names, in 2021, against a lot of decks out there that go for generic monsters in the extra deck, have generic effects in the main deck, it sometimes comes into play. It happens a lot more than I think. People think it does. Trying to formulate my words here. It happens more often than people think, because I find that copying the effect can sometimes be very useful, more so than when this card initially came out in some regards, because people go into generic things in the extra deck. That's what I was trying to say cohesively. Blech, tongue-tied there for a second. Next up, we run just some of the one-ofs, which is pretty much Neo-Spacian Flaming Scarab and Aqua Dolphin, which you probably have bad memories from hand loops and stuff, but still a staple one-of in this deck to help you go for your different fusion plays. Some people, we're not going to be doing a lot of hand loop combos with Aqua Dolphin, but you'll still use him to go into your fusions. Same thing with Neo-Spacian Flame Scarab. You will use him to go for your fusions. So that's why we still run them ads in the deck. We also want to run Rainbow Dark Neos, and if you're wondering, why are you running Rainbow Dark Neos? Like, why would you even run this card in the deck? Well, the reason for that is to help go for a certain fusion in the deck, which is pretty decent and pretty powerful in some regards. And back in the day, this was probably one of the better Neo-Spacians, and that's Rainbow Neos. You can use Dark Neos as a substitute, which it says on the card text, which is awesome. Rainbow Neos is pretty decent overall, I find, and still decent even in 2021 standards. Definitely a staple one of Rainbow Neos in the deck. I've seen people run this Rainbow Neos as multiple, depending upon how they're building their Neo-Spacian deck. So just go with that there. Then we get onto the spells, guys. We're running 3 Convert Contact. This card, I think, has gotten better over time because of the newer support that's come out over the course of Neo-Spacian's legacy support, I guess you could say. But it's really a nice card. If you control no monsters, send 2 Neo-Spacian monsters, one from your hand and one from your deck, to the graveyard. Then draw 2 cards. So it's a draw power card for the deck, but it helps fix hands. And in certain situations, it can help set up monsters in graveyard for certain combo plays with this deck that can go off to help go for multiple fusions, etc. So while you may say, oh, I'm just discarding stuff, it's kind of like a Graceful Charity-esque card, it has benefits of having things in graveyard for this deck, especially with Contact Gate, especially if you're running that card at multiples. But still, I love this card. Staple 3 up in the deck, hands down. Next, we run Space Gift. This is one of the cards that I, believe it or not, you would, on paper, it looks decent, but then I thought about it, it was very situational until I really got playing with the deck, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was so not, I wasn't looking at this card in the correct light. This card is very amazing. At worst, it's going to be an Upstart Goblin. At best, it could be a Pot of Greed plus. If you guys don't know what it states, draw, I'm going to read it to you very quickly. Draw 1 card for each different Neo-Spacian name on monster you control. So it's very easy to get you. If you have just 1 out, then it's Upstart Goblin. It's a 1-for-1. That's pretty decent. If you have anything else out there, which it happens fairly often before maybe you're going for a fusion play, etc., oh, you're going to get draw more cards. And then if you have multiple things going on, depending upon the board state, etc., you're going to draw even more. So it's a very good card. I just wasn't looking at it the correct light. It's a staple 3 of, hands down, in my opinion. And once you start playing this deck and you get used to how to play it properly, you find out how good that card can be. Miracle Contact made this deck what it is now. I feel like initially when this card came out in the 5Ds era, I think it's even gone back up in price. When I was talking about having things in graveyard, etc., this is what I mean, because you can set up for Miracle Contact things. Miracle Contact is one of your main fusions for your deck. That, along with your Neos Fusion, which came out when the new wave of support came out, are your 2 main ways for going for your fusion monsters in your Neo-Spacian extra deck. So that's pretty straightforward there, I feel like. We do run 1 other fusion card for the deck, which you do use, and that is Contact Gate. Initially, I was thinking of running Contact Gate at multiples. I will be honest about that. However, from play testing, trying it out, I am more on the side of running it as a one of. It's a great recovery card. The reason I was thinking about running it as in multiples is, as I was talking about before, you can recycle resources in grave. It's a good comeback card. You have cards in grave, you can banish them, go for a fusion. It has its benefits, but at the end of the day, I found that I cut it down from 2 of to 1 of, and I haven't looked back since. It's a very good card. It's a staple 1 of. I feel like you can play around with the ratio, though, a little bit. But a great fusion card to have. Next, we run 3 fusion deployment. Fusion deployment is a staple in this deck. Hands freaking down. It's a great card to have, I feel like. It helps additionally get stuff onto the field to help go for your fusion plays. Staple card, in my opinion, in this version of the deck. Then we run some 1-ofs. We run 1 Call by the Grave. This protects you against hand traps, etc. You can run Monster Reborn. I don't suggest it, but I prefer Call by the Grave. You can run Upstart Goblin if you want to, but I went with Call by the Grave because I don't want to get my things negated. And then 1 Rhoda. You do have targets in this deck for Rhoda, which is nice, and they're very key pieces to your deck. So deck thinning, easy to search out pieces that can help you out. Staple 1 of, in my opinion. Next, we run some traps. We run 3 Next. Next is a really good card. Helps protect your things from getting, bounced back with your contact fusions, etc. It's a really versatile card in this deck. It's one of those traps that, in this version of the deck, is a staple 3 of. In an age where we don't run traps as much. If you guys don't know what it does, I'll read it to you very briefly. Special summon any number of monsters with different names from your hand and or graveyard in defense position that are all Neo-Spacian monsters or elemental hero Neos, but negate their effects. And as long as this as long as you control any of those special summon monsters face up, you can't special summon monsters from your extra deck except fusion monsters. That's perfectly fine. You can only activate 1 next per turn. If you control no cards, you can activate this card from your hand. That's really useful. It's a good comeback card. It's very much a Jaden-esque card, I feel like. But the great card it combos with is Space Gift, like we were talking about before. You will find yourselves in some duels, you go off with a next and you've exhausted a lot of your resources, maybe they're in grave, and then you use Space Gift. Oh my gosh, you just go off and then you're back in the duel. This deck has such good recovery nowadays. It's kind of funny, and you don't know it until you start doing combos. The last card I run in the main deck is 3 Infinite Impermanence. I wanted some type of negation in this deck that's consistent because monster effects can somewhat be the Achilles heel of this deck, and I don't want them to go off with everything. So you can run Ash Blossom. That is a thing. I went with Infinite Impermanence because I felt that was a little bit more useful in this version of the deck. So that's just me, but 3 Infinite Impermanence. On to the extra deck we'll go over. We run our Vegeta because this deck, guys, by far is over 9,000. We run 2 Elemental Hero Brave Neos. You can run 1 if you want to replace one of the other Neo-Spacians, I guess you could say, for like running it as a double. Maybe you're running extra contact gates. I don't know. You can play around with the ratios of some of these fusion monsters. But this one I find I go for pretty often. It's pretty useful, so I run it as a 2 of. 1 Elemental Hero Nebula Neos, which was the 10 promo. Really good card. 1 Elemental Hero Cosmic Neos, really good card. 1 Elemental Hero Magma Neos. 1 Elemental Hero Storm Neos. 1 Elemental Hero Air Neos, needs a reprint again. 1 Rainbow Neos. 1 Elemental Hero Grand Neos. And that's your fusions. And like I said, you can play around with the ratios depending upon how you've maybe teched your deck out and how you've played it. But I do run some links in the deck that are very generic. Your Nightmare Cerberus to get rid of monsters. Your Phoenix to get rid of back row. Your Cerberus to spin things back, which is nice. I also run Cross Sheep because it's really good in this deck, as well as Verte Anaconda, staple 1 of in this deck, and Axis Code Talker because it's just nice to have as a 1 of. Sometimes you will go for it. I have thought about maybe replacing it with another fusion, but that's up to you to decide. But I hope you guys all enjoyed this deck profile. I know I went through it pretty quickly, but this deck is fairly straightforward. I find at the end of the day. It really is straightforward, but it's a fun deck to play, and it's really cool to utilize it to most of its ability. And I think more people would play it if Air freaking Neos got a reprint. And so Konami, please get on that for everybody's sake to make that card a budget option where we don't have to worry about the price ever again. And until next time, guys, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling, and remember to get your game on. And I'll see you guys next time. Good luck dueling to all of you.